Hi, I'm Sue Jackson of the Live with ME/CFS blog and author of Finding a New Normal, Living Your Best Life with Chronic Illness. And today this video is a short addendum to a previous video that I made that was called Measuring Your Limits in ME/CFS and Long COVID with a heart rate monitor and step counter. Yes, a very long title, but that is exactly what that video was about, and what this one is about as well. There is a unique characteristic in ME/CFS and many cases of long COVID, which are ME/CFS as well, where exertion, even mild exertion, can make us much sicker. And so that video was all about using a heart rate monitor and a step counter as ways to measure your exertion level so that you know when you're doing too much. The whole goal is to prevent post-exertional crashes or worsening from overexertion. So you can check that video out. I'll link it down below. It's got all kinds of information on why heart rate is important, how monitoring heart rate can help you, and my own experiences with that. In that video, I explained that I was still using a very old Mio Alpha heart rate monitor. It's just a heart rate monitor, not a multifunctional device like people wear on their wrists now. They don't even make these anymore. I still love it. It is still my favorite. But I mentioned in that video that my husband had given me an Apple Watch almost 2 Christmases ago now that I hadn't set up yet. And so I did it. I have finally set up my Apple Watch. And I just wanted to make a short video explaining my experiences so far in using an Apple Watch as the device to monitor my exertion level. So I've got both on right now to show you, and you can see they're not saying the exact same thing. I do occasionally wear both. I've gotten in the habit of wearing my Apple Watch all the time, every day, all day. I don't wear it for my nap or when I'm sleeping, although I know it can measure sleep, so that's the next thing to explore. So I'm going to go over some positives and negatives here, and that is a big plus for the Apple Watch, the fact that I am always wearing it. And I have mine set up, and it took me a little bit to figure this out, but if you see the face of it, you can see the little heart there. And when I tap on that heart, the heart rate page automatically comes up. So I've got mine so that my heart rate is always easily accessible. This is one of, so there you go. So it came up. So as opposed to the heart rate monitor, which is big and bulky and all it does is monitor heart rate. So typically I would only put it on when I was doing something exerting, taking a walk, helping my husband with cleaning the house, a little bit. I only do the dusting, but that still raises my heart rate. Pulling weeds out in the garden while sitting to keep my heart rate low. So anything like that, I would typically strap on the heart rate monitor. So now I've got the Apple Watch. My heart rate is always accessible. This is one of the downsides. I just tapped that little heart icon. And as you can see, and that was actually pretty quick, it takes a few minutes to find my heart rate. Whereas this, once I've put it on, my heart rate is always there. It's always measuring. It's always visible. I don't have to wait for a reading. So what I find sometimes with the Apple Watch is that I will think that my heart rate's too high. Maybe I've been walking up a hill or going up the stairs in our house even, or carrying a basket of laundry, or I can feel tachycardia, heart palpitations, and I will look down and yeah, we get the spinning heart as it takes a minute to find my heart rate again. The heart rate monitor, it's always there. So that is a downside, but I do like that I am always wearing it. So it's not just measuring my heart rate during intentional activity. I can also check my heart rate during unintentional activity while I'm putting in a load of laundry or cooking dinner or going up the stairs. So that is kind of nice. And also, I have found there have been times when I forget my heart rate monitor. And this is actually what finally got me to take the Apple Watch out of the box and put it on. My cousin and her husband were visiting in the summer. We went for a walk. We wanted to show them this beautiful area along a creek that we like to walk. It's very flat, so I wasn't too worried about my heart rate. But we got there, which is like a 20-minute drive away, and I realized I had forgotten my heart rate monitor. Well, my very kind cousin happened to be wearing her Apple Watch, and she said, "Here, you can wear my watch." And so that was my first experience with the Apple Watch, wearing my cousin's on that walk. And, so I could already see that it was something that might be useful for me, especially if I don't always have this with me. Another positive of the Apple Watch is that it measures additional things besides just heart rate. Let's see if I can, you know what? I should have this on upside down so that you can see it. Tap the heart again. Oh, I see. Now I don't have to do that. Got it. And it's waiting. Okay, there's my heart rate. So if I scroll on here, I can see resting heart rate. It'll show my resting heart rate for this day. You can see since I put it on, I haven't been resting, so it's not showing anything. But it also shows a little graph, and on that first page, there's also a little graph. I haven't done that much today. It's morning, so there's not much to the graph yet. And then resting heart rate, walking average. So there are some different things. More importantly is that the Apple Watch is measuring something that my old style heart rate monitor doesn't, and that is heart rate variability. Now, I fully admit I am only just beginning to learn about this. I was on a podcast about monitoring heart rate for physical therapists who have patients with ME/CFS. And it was a really interesting podcast, so I will link that down below too. There were two parts to it. It was set up by some physical therapists in the UK who work with ME/CFS patients and understand about the exertion intolerance in ME/CFS. And so they set up this podcast. I was one of a couple of patients talking about patient experience. They were talking about the physical therapy side of it, and they had a guy named Todd Davenport talking about the technical side of it. Todd is one of the top researchers in the world on the exercise intolerance that is at the heart of ME/CFS, the piece that limits us the most. So Todd is extremely knowledgeable about this, and that's where I first heard that tracking heart rate variability was another important measure for people with ME/CFS. So I don't understand all of it. I will link below to those videos, and I'll see if I can find something else from Todd. I'm also going to link to a helpful one-page information sheet about heart rate variability for ME/CFS patients and their doctors. So all the basics are that higher heart rate variability is good and lower is bad. And I'm sure I can see it somewhere on the watch. I haven't found that. But at the end of the day, I can pull it up on my phone, which I would show you if I weren't using my phone to record. But I can click on the heart icon on my iPhone. It's taking data from my Apple Watch all day long, which is another plus. And so I can look at my heart rate variability graph for that day, when it was high, when it was low. And as described in that information sheet, I can easily see that when I'm resting, it's high. When I'm active, it's low. I'm still trying to figure out exactly what it means to me. A couple of days in the last few days, I said to my husband at the end of the day, this is really weird. This is the highest heart rate variability's ever been. I guess that means I had a good day. He just laughed and said, it seems like a random number to me. But I'm trying to figure it out. In the meantime, I do know it's another important way of measuring our limits. And you can make your heart rate variability higher by resting. So I am keeping track of heart rate variability now. The watch does that for me, and I look at it on my iPhone at the end of the day. I mentioned in that previous video that I use my iPhone as a step counter, and now the watch does that. I'm still carrying my phone with me in my pocket most of the time just because it's a habit now. But I did notice my step count went up by quite a bit when I started wearing the watch. So I do think it's maybe catching more steps and maybe more accurate. So at the end of the day on the iPhone, I look at both steps for the day, which, as I explained in that earlier video, tells me, based on past experience, whether I'm doing too much or staying within my limits. And now I'm looking at heart rate variability as well. So the other thing I want to show you on the watch, let's see if I can do this backwards and upside down. Right, see that little green walking man? Okay, if I do this and press that, this is what I do before I take a walk, or before I start cleaning, or before I do anything active. So that is very much like the old, that one's still upside down, like the old heart rate monitor. When I want to keep track of what it's measuring, I press the button to start a workout. Obviously, I'm not really working out, but even when I'm taking a short walk. Okay, so you can see now, took it a couple minutes, but my heart rate's up there. It's looking at time, calories, which I don't really care about. But for instance, if I push that button, start a walk, and it's got all kinds of different options for different activities. I couldn't find anything that said cleaning or gardening, so I just choose other for those. It's a little bit of a pain because I want it to monitor my heart rate all the time. And if I'm doing this workout thing and I stop walking, it immediately says, are you still working out? Which is a little bit annoying, but you can dismiss that. So this is helpful for times when I know I am being active, working in the garden, helping my husband clean, taking a walk, kayaking, which is actually great activity for someone with ME/CFS because you're sitting the whole time and only moving your shoulders. Your heart rate stays pretty low. But anyway, I will use the workout mode when I'm doing something like that. And then at the end of it, you can see, let me see if I can end this so I can show you. So I just ended the workout, which was just me sitting here for a couple minutes. It tells me the total time. And let me see, where is it? There we go. And if I scroll down, it shows me my average heart rate, which is something else that the heart rate monitor does. And it shows me the range of my heart rate during that activity that I was measuring. So here's another downside. I don't think there is a way to set a high heart rate alarm on the Apple Watch. The only high heart rate alarm I could find was something that will alert you if your heart rate suddenly goes high after you've been resting for at least 10 minutes. So for a healthy person, I suppose that would be alerting you to a potential cardiac event. For us, that's just another day in the life. It's a little bit of random tachycardia that happens when we're just lying there doing nothing. Not very helpful. What I want, and what my old heart rate monitor does, is to set a custom high alarm for myself while I am working out, walking or whatever. That way it alerts me audibly that I'm doing too much. And I know to stop, take deep, slow breaths, which help bring my heart rate down, sit if I can. So that is a big downside of the Apple Watch. It's great that I'm always wearing it. I can check my heart rate anywhere, anytime. The downside is when I'm doing something active, like taking a walk, I have to constantly look down to see what my heart rate is. And sometimes, as I said, it's not nearly as constant as this is. So sometimes, say my neighborhood's very hilly, so if I'm coming up a hill and I go very slowly, I know my limits, but I want to make sure I'm not going past my heart rate limit, and I look down and I get the spinning heart. It's trying to find my heart rate, and it takes it a couple minutes, and by then, it's down and it's fine. Now, at the end of a workout, with what I'm showing you, at the end of a workout, like I was showing you here, where it shows average heart rate, it also shows in little tiny numbers there. I have to get my reading glasses out for that one. The range that my heart rate was in during whatever activity I was timing. So I can see the highest my heart rate went, but I don't necessarily know in the moment that my heart rate's going too high unless I keep checking it. One thing I've gotten in the habit of doing is, if I'm doing something that I know might increase my heart rate, going upstairs, walking up a hill, I will hold my arm up, not this high, I'm trying to show you in the video, but I'll hold my arm like level down at my waist so that it will keep the heart rate measurement visible and I can see what's happening. And again, kind of annoying, but if you put your arm down for a couple minutes, it stops measuring, and then when you lift it, it has to find your heart rate again. So I think those are the basic pros and cons of the Apple Watch. So far, I'm finding it helpful in that I'm wearing it all the time. I like that it's showing me heart rate variability, something new I'm just learning about, but I'm trying to figure out how that can help me as well. I think the step count at the end of the day on my phone is more accurate because it's taking data from the watch. See, my arm was down, so it took it down again, and now it's got to find it again. So that is a major downside. My heart rate, it's not continuously measuring heart rate the way this is. And it has no high heart rate alarm or alert. So those are kind of the pluses and minuses. I do like the convenience, and I like the extra data. I always like data. My husband laughed one day. We were going to clean our bedroom upstairs. Well, he does everything pretty much. I do the dusting. So our bedroom and bathroom up there, he was doing most of it. I was doing the dusting. But believe it or not, just dusting can really raise my heart rate, lifting my arms and everything. So I actually strapped both on just like this, and he looked over at me and just laughed. But, that was a way of, I still wanted the measurements that this does at the end of the day, but it was a way of having that high heart rate alarm. So occasionally I wear both. So that's about it. But I would love to hear about your experience. What device has worked for you to measure heart rate? And have you found a device other than these old school heart rate monitors, or an app for the Apple Watch that will allow you to set a high heart rate alarm? Please let me know about your experiences in the comments down below. Take a moment to like the video, and if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel.